Hello, everyone, and welcome to our guest speaker spotlight. And today we have a beautiful, gorgeous woman, Ivette. Ivette, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I'm an artist, I'm an intentional interior designer, and I'm a lifestyle alchemy coach. I combine visual tools with mindset and mindfulness to help women live their best lives, basically, their best versions of themselves, and just live with intention and empowerment.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I'm, as a lot of you know, I am a true believer that our well-being can be achieved only in a holistic way, and it includes looking at all spheres of our lives in relationship and mind, body, and our environment. And today I want to discuss with Ivette and her expertise about how our environment influence ourselves, our moods, our feeling. What do you think the most important thing for people to understand when we are talking about environment, how it looks, how it influences on us?
I think that the most important part is it has to feel good to you. It has to look good to you and feel good to you. Because you could have a beautiful, beautiful space that looks like a museum, but it means nothing to you. So I'm not saying that's as bad as having something that looks horrible, but it still won't um, do the, it still won't affect your well-being in a way that an environment that really speaks to you will. And many
Yeah.
people don't understand that connection. And for that, I can say, imagine that the next week you have to spend time in a dark, almost prison-like cell with no light and maybe humidity, and then think that the week after that you can go to a vacation and have a bungalow on the beach, very light and airy. And just thinking of that vision, I think, can really explain how our environment impacts us.
Yes. And also, I think it's important to understand for everyone that all objects that are in our surrounding, they all hold some emotional component to it. And we can look at some sentimental things and have a great memories that will warm our heart. But sometimes we hold something just because it was given to us, but we look at this object and it's give us not that good vibe. And I think it's important to distinguish and know what to put, what to say. How what the best approach would be for someone who just starting their way on building the space around them on the way to bring joy and fulfillment, just enchase their life through design? What would be the most crucial first steps? How do you think?
Well, I think most people do get a connection with clutter. And clutter doesn't necessarily have to be mess, although it usually is, but it's exactly that, objects that don't bring you joy, that there's no positive connection with them, or objects that just make it a space overwhelming. A lot of my work talks about the connection between the inner and the outer. And I find that many people with very messy or cluttered spaces also have a very cluttered mind. They live in constant overwhelm. And as you get rid of that clutter, it almost clears your mind too. So I would start with that, just trying to get rid of things that just don't bring positive associations with them. And if you don't want to throw, you can put them away for a little bit, or you can donate. I just donated a lot of stuff through, I think it's called give back box. And you can get the Amazon boxes you use, and you print a label through their website that's already prepaid, and you just send it to someone else that needs that. So that's a really good way of getting rid of
Oh,
clutter.
never heard about that option. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, it's a really good option because I have nice stuff that maybe I want to get rid of because I just don't want to be overwhelmed with things, but then I also don't want to throw them away. So this is a really good, and there's so many different options to donate through them. So yeah, it's like I think I'm pretty sure it's give back box. It's like just as it
Cool.
sounds. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, the first step is definitely get rid of what you don't want before trying to think, the same as in life, before trying to think what you do want, identify what it is that you don't want.
Yeah. And also I like to emphasize that sometimes changing our environment and like moving stuff from one place to another, shifting places, it's also very helpful and beneficial for our brain plasticity, as the research found, that we all know that when we come to the new places and there is a table that we need to go over, we can for certain time bump on it, and like before our body learn to make this smooth curve. And when you shift objects, you're literally turning off the autopilot and starting building new neural connections, and it increases brain plasticity. What do you think about this research?
It's so funny that you say that because my dog, Blondie, she has this, I mean, she can see in the dark. So let's say I get up in the middle of the night to go to use the bathroom. She can see me. So she thinks I can see her. So she doesn't move. And then I step on her. She used to do that a lot when she was little. So I learned to, even when I get up and don't really wake up, just to lift my legs so I don't step on the dog. And then when I would travel, I would find myself automatically like lifting my head and looking for her, even if she was at home. So yeah, I absolutely know what you mean.
Yes, I'd like to bring up the topic about like there's phases in our life, seasons, I would say, as well as the seasons in the nature. Do you think we need to change our design in congruency with change of seasons, or it should stay all year long the same?
Well, I think that's personal, really, personal preference. Once I like something the way it looks, it'll stay like that until I don't like it anymore. It takes me a while, like for my personal things, to find the perfect piece of work and the perfect plant that I don't kill, and just the perfect, just for it to look the way I love and not constantly keep like getting distracted and thinking, oh, I would change this and I would change this. So once I reach that place where I don't feel the need to change, I usually leave it for a while. But I know a lot of people like to do seasons. I don't know. In my opinion, it's kind of what you prefer, really. At the end of the day, is really what makes you happy.
Yeah.
What makes you feel good.
And I also think that sometimes it can be not strictly connected to the seasonal seasons in the natural cycles, but more like your own seasons in your life. When you change, you go to the next level, your preferences change. And it's important to like be in touch with yourself and know, okay, something is off. I need to change something and shift something.
Yeah. And sometimes just doing that moves the energy enough that
Yeah.
it feels different.
Yeah. And what do you say to the people who like literally want to declutter, want to make the space like feeling good for them, but they feel overwhelmed and don't know where to start, what to do? What you will advise for those people?
Well, there's always working with a professional, because like I find that many times, like how it is working with a coach, it's not necessarily that they're this like educated amazing person. Maybe it's someone that just did the same thing a couple years ago, and just having that guide that tells them start here, do this, so definitely working with a coach can be really helpful. Just, I feel like sometimes people just need to be told what to do step by step, because they are, especially when they're overwhelmed. And if that's not an option, I would start small. I would start, because decluttering definitely gets overwhelming. Let's say on your weekly schedule, carve out 1 hour a week for decluttering, and half of that time declutter and the other half leave for tidying up, because many people start decluttering and then it's a bigger mess, and that's even harder. So even start with a drawer, like take a drawer, just go through the things for half an hour, and then half an hour just put things back into place. And I think if you do it like that, step by step, it's really manageable and not overwhelming.
Yeah, and I like how you emphasize like spend half time of decluttering and half time of tidying, because a lot of people out there are like declutter, but then you end up with a whole mess and you're like, oh no, I don't do it anymore because it's much more work. But also I would add probably that make this as much fun as you can. Like turn on your best favorite music, or like pour yourself a favorite drink and place some cookies or whatever it feels right.
Absolutely, like a happy hour decluttering party. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, I like the decluttering party. It's a good idea.
Yeah, we should do like a Zoom happy hour, like Friday afternoon, and invite people to declutter. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah, perfect minds think alike.
Yes, and I also like to add that sometimes people think that, well, I want to make my place beautiful, and it's important to understand that you can start with one small corner, make it perfect for yourself, and it will bring so much joy that you will have more motivation to do other stuff. And I think it's important to understand that sometimes people think that making space beautiful for themselves is expensive. How can you address this question? Because I know the ways to make it not expensive, but I would like to hear your opinion on that.
Oh, obviously, I do too. But anyone that's a little bit artistic and has just a little bit of sense understands that all it needs is a little love and a little, touch. And I actually encounter that when people hear I'm an interior designer, they're like, oh, why are you even talking to me? I'm not rich. But they don't understand that sometimes just like rearranging furniture, just adding one beautiful thing and making it work with the other, or sometimes just adding the perfect piece of art. And it doesn't even have to be expensive. It can be like a reproduction or a plant. Can make all the difference. Oh, one thing that's huge is light fixtures. Like changing the light fixture can absolutely transform your room, and it's really not that expensive. It's really more about being intentional and doing things mindfully, and not necessarily going and spending $20,000 in a new sofa that will make the difference.
Yeah, for sure. And also I would like to add that there is a lot of resources like Buy Nothing groups all over the country, like Goodwill and all these thrift stores that have like cheap options, but you can make your space beautiful in like literally for nothing, just by your approach.
And I just want to add that I have a service that's just a design consultation that's only $350, where I will work with you just on that, on giving you guidance how to, DIY options that work for you to make your space beautiful. So it's really not a huge investment. I don't think it costs a lot more than cutting your hair nowadays. But this is something that will last you a very long time. But again, people hear interior design, they think, oh my God, I need to be a millionaire. And it's actually not. And most designers offer some kind of consultation that's relatively inexpensive and can really, really help you bring harmony to your space, or just, give that elevated look that's looks a little bit more than if you just, if you're just not good at it. And it's fine. Not
Yeah.
everybody.
And what you will advise for someone who like literally not in this space and place to hire someone financially, emotionally, mindset, like blocks, whatever it is, where is the good resources to like get inspiration and get some ideas of what to do, what to put?
Well, everybody knows Pinterest, but I actually have an issue with that, because the kind of design I do is all about your well-being, your happiness. So really just copying someone else's idea of what looks good, I think can be problematic. I think that's when sometimes people end up with a beautiful result that they have no connection to. So honestly, I think the best thing is just to see what feels good to you. Like, even if it looks terrible to someone else, but it feels good to you, then you got it. And yeah, I mean, you can look at inspiration and magazines and Pinterest, but be careful that you're not just copying somebody else's idea of what looks good.
Can you elaborate a bit more on how you help people to like make the design in congruency with themselves? Like feeling is a one part, but what other tools, things, signs that you are looking for to help clients?
So when I work with someone, it definitely starts with that consultation. When I get to know them and I ask questions for things that they don't even know, they'd never even thought about. So once they start getting to know themselves better, then they realize that, oh, this is what I like. Maybe they never thought about it. And of course, I bring the color combination and all that aesthetic experience that can help them translate their vision into something that actually looks good, but it's also theirs based on what they like and what they prefer. Because let's say a man wants to build a man cave. So it doesn't matter that I like, I don't know, sea green and baby pink, and it needs to be good, look good to him. So in a very masculine way, I can still help them tie that harmony to what looks good to them, if that makes sense. Because maybe he wants like a Porsche parked down there, but we can still make it look. So it's a combination of aesthetics and well-being and psychology. There's a lot of environmental psychology. I work a lot with that, which is really intention. Like, people hire like grocery stores. Every single detail is thought of, the lighting, everything to invoke that desire to sell. So I bring that same level to your home, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'd like to ask you about the colors. I know that there's certain beliefs in society that one color represents one emotion and triggers the one emotion, that other colors, the other emotion. What can you told us about colors in design, on your opinion?
So as you already probably noticed, is I say forget everything you learn and ask yourself, what do you feel? And every color will have different connotations, both good and bad, because red can be passion, but it could also be blood, or black could be elegance or death. So it really depends on. So again, I go back to, I also don't really like trends because of the same reason. I really feel like a home should feel good to the person that lives there. And I'm not saying like ignore completely fashion and go back to 1980s, but everything you do, try to adapt it to how it makes you feel. So obviously the cool colors are considered calm, like blues and greens, and they naturally do evoke a peaceful feeling. Like hospitals, you'll see most of them are green, and that's also a very healing color. Black, I like neutrals, black, white, cream, and then you can add pops of color, and that's kind of a classic timeless look. Then there's warmth, of course. So if you want to invoke more of a warm feeling, then you would bring the reds, the orange. One good example is yellow. It's considered like the color of happiness, but I don't like yellow, like in big amounts. Like if I had to go into a room that's yellow, it would not make me happy. No matter how many people will tell you, it's the color of happiness. So again, I go back to saying it's theories are all great, but don't forget how do you feel about something? Because I also know that many people will like choose the perfect color if they're not professionals, like, oh, they love blue, and then they'll paint the entire room, but then the feeling is not right. And that's where really working with a professional can help and save you, that time and money of trying to understand what kind of feeling you want to have in a room before you go and paint everything the wrong color. So
yeah, and I like it. Like it's definitely when it's too much of the color, it could be overwhelming. And I like how you said, like, make it more or less neutral and make pops of colors, and you can change and shift them regarding your emotional state or phase of life.
exactly.
What would you advise for someone who like want to build the house of their preference that feel good for them, but they have totally different opinion on what is good with their spouses?
Definitely hire a professional. Definitely. That's, I think, and many designers will agree on this. Many designers are actually marriage counselors and mediators. But if that's not an option, then don't try to put both together. So maybe, let's say one person likes mid-century modern, the other one likes, I don't know, industrial. So don't try to mix and match equally, because that won't work. So go for one style and maybe insert a couple of elements. So you do everything like the furniture mid-century modern, but maybe you'll have a more industrial light fixture, or maybe you'll have a brick wall. And which is why it is important to work
Yeah.
with. Also, it doesn't end up
Yes, I can imagine the chaos if you have no like experience on mixing together.
Yeah, mixing styles can be done beautifully, but don't try to do it equally. Try to stick to one style and maybe bring a couple of elements that work. And some styles will work with the other, some just don't. And in which case is maybe, let's say one person likes Louis the 14th and the other person is totally industrial. So really don't try to do both, but I would do everything industrial and bring one beautiful chair that's Louis the 14th, and that could work.
Can you tell a bit more about what is the process would look like if, for example, someone come to you for like getting the design done, and in the middle of like this involving discussion, I understand that you not only just talking about design, you go deep in feelings, emotional states, and so on and so forth. And that can evolve and make changes in the person while you're working with them. How you would approach the case if like literally person preference change during the work?
I work with people on two levels. One is just design, and one would involve also coaching. And the idea is when you change a room, it will change things in you. It will act as a catalyst for hopefully positive changes. And when I do the coaching with a design, I help these people navigate and use this energy towards their desired changes. But these changes will happen no matter what. I don't think they would happen in the middle of the design. If it's on their own. When I work with someone, it happens rather quickly. And then I would address that.
On your opinion, is there some like literally important spots in your house that need to be addressed first? Like if there's certain spaces that you need to have in order to have like this feeling of well-being and love in your house, like what the most important spots in your house would be?
Well, I think it's really where you want to like to hang out the most. It really depends. Because let's say, I know you're into mindfulness too. So I feel like the place where you meditate should be amazing. Because that's where everything starts. That's where you, but obviously your bedroom, that's really the space you spend the most amount of time, like anywhere. Even when you sleep, it affects you, believe it or not. Kitchen. I mean, it almost feels like you're going a little bit into feng shui, which I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I like the principles behind it, but with no disrespect to anyone, I feel like it's very rigid. And again, you see, probably understood by now how I feel about rules.
Yeah.
I feel the rules should be, it's your own. But of course, feng shui says the kitchen is health, and your office is your income. So that I get, and that's fine. And depending really on what change you want to bring, I would concentrate. But I would say just keep it harmonious. Don't like have one perfect room and like the rest looks a disaster. Just gradually work on everything at a time. It doesn't all have to be perfect, but it needs to flow.
Yeah, I like this. I like this idea of this flow among the rooms, because I think someone can go, okay, I want to boost my work. I will work on the office, and the rest of the house look chaotic. And the moment you step out, it's like, oh no.
And that definitely misses the mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the keyword is just have balance. I mean, just don't overdo it on any.
Do you have any advices for those who like live in tiny small places but want to have everything, like corner for that, corner for that?
Storage. Really good storage solutions. Everything you hide behind a closet is not clutter. Storage solution, and also like flexibility, that your dining room can also be your office, and maybe having partitions, or just that flexibility, and hopefully stick to a little bit of minimalism, because otherwise, I mean, you can't have everything, right? Like,
yeah,
unless, and if you don't mind having a million things around, then it's not clutter. If it doesn't bother you, then again,
I like how you emphasize this, because I think a lot of people, when hear the word declutter, it's for them it's like equals to tiny little amount of things in your place. But actually, for someone, decluttered space can have millions of little things, but it's like look tidy and feel light for them.
yeah. And I'll go back to, like, there's no rules. It's really about how it makes you feel. Because some people like that maximalist look. I don't, but some people like stuff, and that's fine. As long as it doesn't like bring them down and makes them feel bad, then who's to say what it's supposed to look like?
Yes, it's important to address this question, I think, because a lot of us live in this paradigm that this society strict rules and we need to follow them, and we need to address that. No, you need to follow your own feeling and live in alignment with yourself.
Yeah, I feel like that's a challenge for most people, just like to reject, unless you're a natural rebel.
Yeah.
I feel like many people don't trust their own opinions, because society tells them, no, this is how it's supposed to be, and I'm here to tell you no. I mean, of course, within the law, but yeah, listen to yourself. Don't forget what everybody, if you have the courage.
And I think sometimes changing the old design and bringing the stuff that you like and not following the rules can bring a lot up about healthy boundaries of yourself. Because, for example, when you build the design how you like, how you feel, and like, for example, your parents step in, like, what is that? And you like really start doubting your thoughts, your decisions, and it's about the healthy boundaries itself, I think.
It is, but I will still emphasize that if you're not aesthetically inclined, then yes, working with a professional designer that can translate your taste into something aesthetically pleasing is important, because you might end up doing what you say and then wake up a week later and think, oh my God, what did I do? I mean, there's still rules to aesthetics, and like you said, colors, and like you'll paint your room red with pink dots, and because that's your unique, expression. But I guarantee you'll wake up a week later and think, oh my God, what did I do?
Except this wake up in the week with those thoughts, what could be the other signs that can tell you that you need to hire the profession, that you cannot put everything together that will be aesthetically pleasing?
Well, I mean, I think people know themselves, and some people know that they are not artistically inclined, or, like my husband will say, I have no taste. I don't know that it's true, but he also doesn't care what a space looks like. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect him, because like once I came in and started changing things, it definitely had a good effect on him. But he's not a person that will either. And I think, I don't want to say I don't want to say men in general, but some men, as some women, it's not important to them. They don't see the importance, but they will reap the benefits if someone like the wife would take it upon themselves to decorate.
Yeah. And I also think that sometimes it could be like mindset blocks that doesn't allow people to see that they need help, because someone can put like literally this like crazy spots of this mixture, and they think that they feel good, but when they will start working with a professional, they will look back and say, oh no, that was bad. And sometimes I think it's about like inner restrictions in some way.
Yeah, but even that, I say, hey, if you want to try and paint your room red with pink, do it. I mean, and then if it doesn't work, then keep changing, and until you either find the right, or then you give up and
hire someone.
But
yeah, but
it's like, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, do it. You'll learn. You'll understand.
Yeah. What are the good places, or maybe books that can people go educate themselves about like the basics?
Yeah, internet. There's everything on the internet. There's so much information out there. I mean, even AI, I'm sure, would help you.
Yeah. What one piece of advice can you tell anyone who is thinking, considering if they even need to change something? What would be the one piece of advice for them?
Well, first of all, if you don't like your space, if you come home and your energy goes down, or if it just doesn't feel good to you, then obviously, sometimes if something's just stuck in your life, I would play around with moving furniture and see what happens, or decluttering. Everybody knows how powerful decluttering is.
Yeah. Thank you for this conversation. It was interesting, and I hope someone will be inspired to make their places look better, feel better for them, and life would definitely react and be better in a ways.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And honestly, people are, there's this stereotype about working with a designer, which it depends on what you want, might be true, but sometimes just like working with someone for an hour or two can give you, like you said, that starting point where it doesn't really have to be that expensive. And then you can go to a book. But nothing replaces a live human. Not yet.
For sure. Thank you. Thank you for joining in.
Oh, thank you for having me.